This episode has been brought to you by My Extraordinary Productions, helping you find the agents, managers, showrunners, and casting directors you need to connect with. Click the link in the description to learn more. When it comes to headshots, actors obviously need headshots. It's kind of become a trope at this point, but lots of other people can benefit. If you have a LinkedIn profile, if you have a page on a company website, if you're some other artist and you need to sell your art, if you're a writer, a musician, if you're a painter, it can still be helpful. And you know what? Sometimes it's just nice to have a professional looking photo for these random one-off occasions. It comes up sometimes. One trap that a lot of people fall into is thinking that they need to be seen with every single facial expression and every single combination of clothing. I'm exaggerating, but one of my headshot sessions I was thinking like, okay, I need the red polo and the orange polo, even though I don't like the orange polo, but people need to know that I look terrible in orange. And I need the yellow polo, same reason. And I need the green polo. And now I can move on to t-shirts. Another big trap people fall into is wanting to look like their best self, so much so that they end up with photos that look nothing like them. So this could be someone who put on way too much makeup, someone who's wearing clothes they would never wear in real life, someone who has edited the photos so that they're 20 pounds thinner, and you end up with a photo of a person who looks amazing but isn't you. You do want to look like your best self, but you still want to look like yourself. So think of yourself on just a really good day where you've gotten all of the sleep you need and you've been eating well and you're hydrated and you're stress-free. As one casting director put it, even if you're supposed to look homeless, you want to be an aspirational homeless. If you're an actor, you've probably done some branding and typing homework, but if you're just a normal person who needs headshots, ask yourself, who are you and what do you want these photos to convey? As an actor, you may come up with a list of roles you can play, and if you come up with a bunch of job descriptions, I also encourage you to come up with character descriptions. People may not be able to tell the difference between an accountant and a lawyer, but they can tell the difference between this white-collar professional who's just going to clock out at 5 o'clock no matter what, and this white-collar professional who's probably going to be really devious, or maybe someone's really well-meaning. I don't know what your character descriptions are. Ideally, whatever job descriptions and characteristics you're going with are the ones you hear most often. So if someone says you're a quiet librarian 100 times, and you only get one person to say you're a loud rocker chick, you're probably going to go with the quiet librarian photos first. It's not that you can't play the rocker chick, it's just that demand from you is clearly much more limited. Now, obviously, not all of you watching this video are actors. Some of you may be lawyers or accountants or managers or someone else who needs a photo taken, like an artist or something. In that case, think of how people describe you and your work and try to come up with which descriptions you really, really want to have shine. You may decide that on top of headshots, it makes sense to have lifestyle or editorial type photos. And for those who don't know what I mean those pictures where it's like you're in the middle of working and someone just caught you working on something, as opposed to like a posed headshot. Once you know what you want, you can look for a photographer. Now, the price points for your photographer may vary depending on where you are in the country, but here is what I have observed living in Los Angeles. So if a photographer is working for you for free, that person is most likely a student or some sort of amateur. And while it's a great starting point if you have nothing else, it may show up in the final product. If someone charges under $250, this person can be an amateur, this person can be someone who's just starting out. The learning may still appear in the photos, but there are a few diamonds in the rough at this price point. You may end up with a professional in this price point who normally charges twice as much, 3 times as much, but is choosing to give everyone a discount because they're only doing 1 look instead of 6, or some other reason. $250 to $500 is kind of the mid-range of photographers, and this is where everyone's pretty professional and you start getting offers besides photography. Usually they offer 3 to 6 looks, and also they'll edit a couple of photos or something like that. Then we have people who charge $500 or more. Yep, That's a lot of money, but these people are usually worth it because on top of being really professional, they're giving you a ton of looks, or they're including styling and makeup and hair in it, or they're editing all of your photos instead of just 2 or 3. Once you've chosen a photographer, you can communicate with them and start planning out all of your looks. So this could mean choosing which clothes and backgrounds are really going to have the effect you want, and it could also mean deciding, hey, I'm going to shave my beard halfway through the shoot so I get double the shots. Or, hey, I'm going to put on 10 layers of makeup so I can be 3 different people. Yeah, if you're going to do something like shave halfway through a shoot or put on 10 layers of makeup, that's definitely a good thing to tell your photographer, because a lot of photographers in Los Angeles like to shoot outside, and knowing, oh, this is going to happen, that also tells them, I need to find a place with a sink or something like that. Some suggestions for your headshot session may include, what do you look like on a normal Tuesday? What do you look like on the weekend? What do you look like at work? What do you look like at formal events? You may also consider costumes, as in folk costumes or specific uniforms that you have access to. Uniforms like a lab coat or a police uniform, that sort of thing. There are casting notices that ask for real families or real couples or real pet owners, so it might make sense for you to take photos with your family or your significant other or your dog or whatever. The important thing here, though, is before you do this, you really need to think, do I want to work with this person or animal, or am I just much better off if we are not working together? Either answer is fine, but you may discover you're one of those people who really likes having that boundary. You may decide that whoever you're dating just really doesn't like being on set, so don't include them. Or you may realize that your child is adorable but is terrible at taking directions, so it doesn't make sense to include them. Or you may decide that your pet is wonderful, but your pet is a fish and you don't want to drive your fish to set. Before the shoot, eat, sleep, drink a lot of water. Try to be as relaxed the day before your shoot and the day of your shoot as possible. Try to have as few commitments as possible. Then once you've had your shoot, you can review the photos and choose which ones you're gonna go with. You need 1 photo. 2 photos is better. 5 photos is great. 10 plus photos and you start overloading people with too many choices, and you start having a lot of repeats. It's important that if you're going to have 5 photos, that they are 5 distinct photos. You often will end up with literally 300 shots, 500 shots, 1,000 different shots. So if you are going to ask other people for feedback on which shot you should go with, it can be very beneficial for you to first do a pass through and say, okay, of the 300 shots of me looking like an accountant, these are the 3 shots that I like the most. And then you can ask your friend, hey, of these 3 shots, which one really exemplifies this kind of accountant or this kind of librarian? If you have an agent or a manager, you can ask them for feedback. And if you have a bunch of actor friends and acquaintances, you can ask them for feedback as well. Ironically, people who don't know you super well give the best feedback for this sort of thing, because they can look at a photo and not be influenced by the fact that they know you. Be forewarned that whenever you give someone the option and you say, which of these 3 photos says real estate agent the most, you may not end up with the one that's the most flattering, but it's going to be the one that really has that essence. Now that you've chosen which photos you're going with, now you can edit your photos, or more accurately, have someone else edit them for you. You really want to go with something that's a more idealized natural. That's where a lot of photo edits go wrong, where they will whiten the teeth too much so they look blue, or they will get rid of all of the wrinkles despite the fact that this person is in their 50s and they're going to have a couple. You want to look like yourself, but a more idealized version. Otherwise, if it's too idealized, it can be very misleading. If you're an actor, people are hiring you for your wrinkles and for your gray hairs and for your age spots. People aren't necessarily hiring you because you're perfect. Good Photoshop tends to be very natural looking because it is very minimal. So people may be touching up fine lines, but they're not getting rid of the deep wrinkles. People may be smoothing out a bump here or some stubble there, but they're not changing your hair color. Now, your photographer may have offered you some photo edits as a part of their package, which is great. But if that's not the case, photo edits aren't typically that expensive. Either way, though, make sure you let this person know if there are specific things you want them to pay attention to. Now that you have your photos edited and pristine and everything's perfect, now you can upload these to your websites. For an actor, it may be LA Casting or Actors Access, but for a non-actor, it may be your company website or your personal website. Your Actors Access profile lets you have 2 free headshots, and then everything after that is a flat rate. With LA Casting, it is much more cost effective if you upload a batch of photos as opposed to just 1 or 2 individually, because they tend to change the pricing depending on how many photos you're uploading at a time. Now, with either website, you upload enough photos and the costs really do add up, but you gotta spend some money to make money, and it's gonna be really worth it for the convenience. For the convenience of saying, hey, you want a shot of this? I got it. You want a shot of this? I got that too. Now, when people think of actors and headshots, people also think of them having a ton of headshots, which used to be the case. It's not as much the case anymore. People still do accept physical hard copy headshots at auditions nowadays, but because so much is digital now, a lot of people don't want them. Because of this, I really don't recommend actors printing more than like 10 unless they're doing something specific, like they're going to mail a bunch of agencies and managers and they're looking for representation, in which case it does make sense to have more hard copies. Once again though, things are digital, so you may opt just to email those photos instead of snail mailing them. Now we get to the last part. When do you replace your photos? I hope you enjoyed this process because you're going to have to repeat it at some point. There are lots of reasons why an actor or other professional may need to update their photos. The first one being, you just finished your photo session and you realize none of these photos are going to work. Sorry that happened. Sorry that you have to spend more money to fix it. Sorry that you have to spend more time to fix it. You should also book another session when your look changes dramatically. For a child, it could mean a headshot session every year because they grow up. Or for an adult, it could mean taking photos whenever your hair color changes, or whenever you cut a bunch of your hair off, or whenever you gain or lose 20 pounds. Some people decide that it's easier just to do it based off of time no matter what, so a lot of people go with every 2 to 3 years, but I've seen some people go with every 5 years or even every 10 years. You're getting older no matter what, so you might as well just do these things periodically. But the other thing is that headshot trends change over time, so this helps ensure that you're staying current with the trends. Finally, you should book a new shoot every time you realize you need a specific shot. Your agent or manager may point something out to you, or you may say, hey, I've been going out for a lot of doctor roles. It would make sense for me to have a photo of myself in a lab coat. Thanks for watching. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons, follow me on social media. If you've got a question, leave a comment, and I will see you all next time.